Greetings and salutations. I am Frank, and today I am working on a tree in a piece of software called Cinema 4D. This is a tree that I've been working on for a little bit. It started off as a simple polygonal model like this, and this model started off as a cube, and I extruded and pulled out sides of the cubes and made a origami looking tree. It has no branches. Well, it has branches, it has no leaves, and it's very barren. But working in the industry of animation, the workflow I like to take is start simple and then get more complex and dense as you go. Now this video is not a tutorial. It's not a video that's supposed to really explain how to do what I'm doing. This is more a video so that people can just hang out with me and see what I'm working on currently. So hopefully we're going to have a little bit of fun here and add details to this tree that are not currently here. Now you can notice that if you look at the base of this tree, there's a little nook here and a little nook here, a little knot hole, and this is actually going to be the home of a gnome, and his window or his loft, his balcony is going to be right here, and this is for a TV commercial in which a troll is lumbering through the forest and comes across this tree and causes the little gnome some trouble. There will also be a video game that is coming out for Android that I'm inventing, directing, coordinating, and working with a programmer who's going to code it all for me, and I'm going to be supplying the artwork and directing the rules of the game and whatnot. So right now, after I've got this tree at this level, right about now, it's got enough information on it where I can really start adding some interesting little details along the surface, such as little creases like this to help define the areas in which I want the bark to fold and bend and crease in various places. This is a process in animation that is known as sculpting. It's a little like watching paint dry. I know, watching an artist's work, but I suppose if you like a relaxing kind of video, you've come to the right place, because there's nothing for you to really do here other than really just watch, and maybe you're an aspiring artist yourself and you want to just see somebody in the industry that works. I work from home. All my clients send me work, and I do it out of my studio right here in my country home. And as you can see, my studio is quite clustered with film projection screens and many TVs and a Macintosh computer here, and I'm working on a PC today, and I'm actually recording this on a different PC as I'm working. So I'll try to talk and work at the same time. And what I've got here is a snaking kind of vine looking thing. I don't know if you've ever looked at a tree and you've seen kind of gnarly twists and turns in a tree. Well, that's kind of what I'm shooting for here. This sculpting is a relatively new method in creating 3D polygon models, and I say it's relatively because in times past, for most of CGI history, when you're working on computer-generated images, you have to go very meticulously, more meticulous than what I'm doing right here, and adjust every little polygon. And when I say polygon, I'm referring to the individual squares you see here. Each square is a polygon, and I'm using these tools to quickly bunch up the polygons and arrange them so that it looks a little more natural. Because the more detail I add onto this, the more natural it's going to look, and I'm not going for photorealistic. That is a bit of a high goal. And when doing this, sometimes you might think to yourself, oh, I want it to look real, and that is a fine goal to have. For me, I like to think a little more methodically and just gauge steps and details and work that has to be done one step at a time. So instead of thinking of what my step 100 will be, I'm thinking of step 2, then 3, then 4. And if I reach photorealism, that's good. It's fine. If I reach something that just looks good, that's good also. And so I don't like to necessarily shoot for photorealistic all the time. Sometimes, and often, it's true, what looks good in CGI is good. A mentor of mine, Rick Lapidus, he would say that, and he was right, because often on a job, when I would go out to jobs, they would want details that didn't really look real, but they look good, and that's all that matters in the end. And it's like with movies. You see Superman flying. Does it really look real? Really? I think if you scrutinize and look at it more critically, you might see that it looks cool and looks good, but look real, not so much. So that's just my personal take. Now I'm just adding some creases up the branches. You can see how I'm working my way around here. This thing's going to be loaded with details, and I have to pick and choose my battles here of where lines go, crevices are, all that fun stuff. I suppose if I could hear you, I'd be asking you, so how are you today? And you'd say, fine, thank you. But I must wonder, is that really true? Are you really okay? Or is that just a saying, and I think we all know that it's true, when people say, fine, thank you, it doesn't exactly open the door to somebody's heart and what really is on their mind. Oh my goodness, where have I ended up? Oh, I'm in a branch. Oh, look at that, I've managed to go up one of the limbs and totally get lost there. So I'm using a pen tablet, and this pen tablet, made by Wacom, is the bamboo Wacom pen tablet, and it's pretty good. It allows me for some pressure sensitive touches, so I can go really light like this, or I can go really heavy like that, just by pressing light or hard on the pen tablet. Okay, now let's just not get too caught up in too many details. Let's just take this around and get general lines everywhere. Let's not be too careful. Let's just trust that if you put detail there, at least the representation of said detail will be enough to make it look cool in the long run. And when you take that that stance of just having represented detail and not really being too careful, you have to, it comes with experience. You just have to know that somewhere along the line you're going to get to double back and add details where maybe you didn't get to before. So I try not to get too locked into one area and, you know, detail it up and shine it up. I like to do a coating of detail and then do another pass, as it were, over the old stuff. Yeah, the sculpting tool is really cool. It allows for some interesting decision making at a higher speed than the old days. What can I say? I don't typically do videos like this because I'm usually busy creating actual content and animations, doing work. I'm not a big tutorial person. I would like to, if I have time, if I thought people wanted it. If I had a request, I'd probably consider it with seriousness, you know. But on my own, I wouldn't think to do one. I used to teach at a college, did lots of tutorials, handed out tutorials. I know how to use Adobe Flash, which allows for some programming. I programmed and coded animated tutorials that would animate where to click in the interface and what to do next, and would guide you to making 3D logos, characters, that kind of stuff. You know, Pixar kind of characters, fun things. But this is a lot like playing with a lump of clay, except a lot easier, in my opinion, once you learn the tool. And that's really the challenge with all things, is some tools are harder to learn, but once you learn them, it makes your job a lot easier. It's very easy to learn how to use a hammer or a sledgehammer to break up concrete. It's very easy to learn. Very difficult to do. Especially when you consider the other tool, the jackhammer, a couple more steps to learning how to use it, a little bit harder to learn to use. It's not just swinging something. You got to operate the sledgehammer, or not the sledgehammer, the jackhammer. But once you learn how to use it for big jobs, makes the job a lot easier. And computers are very similar like that. There's problems that need to be solved. In this case, I had to make a tree. There's many tools at my disposal. I could hand draw the tree. I could scan it into the computer and take all these steps, or I could use my pen, tablet, and draw it directly into the computer, and it would make the process, it would make my job a lot easier to just draw it directly. And that's why I learned to use this tool, because it makes the job easier. I don't have to scan my drawings. I can draw them right into the computer. It's more difficult to learn to use than just a traditional pencil or a paintbrush. Well, yeah, because it's technology. It takes some time to learn. And initially, getting good results doesn't happen. It takes a lot of practice and getting used to the tool. And once you do, like the jackhammer, big jobs become easier. So, in the case of this tree, I can say pretty safely that it would be harder to do this with an actual lump of clay, because you would be fighting the laws of physics. Your clay would have a tendency to fall over, and that is no good. Now these lines are not the end of the job. This is not going to be the end of the tree. What will be the end is a series of textures and steps in the software to basically help it become a more... Oh, that's a bad line. See that? Looks like a pizza slice. That's not natural looking. That's a little better. And I'll be coloring this not just brown. It'll have bumps and interesting little details around it. So it's not exactly done. See, this knot hole right here is a good example of how I approach things. I'll go very general like that, and then I'll kind of flower out. Pun not intended, because it kind of looks like a flower now. I'll kind of create these little ridges on the base. And we don't have to worry about really stuff being too pinchy looking, too plasticky looking, because like I said, I'll be texturing this not with just brown for bark or gray. I'll be going in here with a variety of tools to make it bumpy, bark-like, give it all kinds of sub-details. You can think of it as sub-details. Details within details. So, just kind of I don't know why, but a turtle keeps on coming into my mind when I'm looking at this. It has a little bit of a turtle shell or maybe exoskeleton feel to it. Alright, maybe like a toothy kind of thing. Alright, and we'll kind of have this knot hole get a little more general as we go around. And creating lines isn't the only option. There's a lot of options that I'll go back over this object, like inflate. I can actually puff up the details that I've added here to sort of inflate and separate the polygon grid so that it becomes a little bit more spread out. But I'm not going to do that yet. That is self-serving a little bit when I get caught up in one spot and try to just see it. You know, it's not self-serving. It's more just impatience, and that is a big key with art. Don't get impatient. When you know, don't get impatient with yourself. Don't just give up just because it doesn't turn out the way you thought it should have turned out. You know, get back on the horse, so to speak, to use that analogy, and ride again. Do the jump again. You know, people training their horses, I'm sure they take some big spills, and that is some rough stuff. Go flying off a horse, like poor Christopher Reeves. And if you don't know who he was. He was the gentleman that played Superman in the 80s. But you probably already knew that, didn't you? Some of you. Most of you. Put some crossover, natural irregularities across this shape that I've made, so it looks a little more like wood and not like the belly of a snake or something. It's supposed to be twisting around the tree, and around this twisting object is little twisting shapes around it. So that's why I'm drawing a line breaking up the shape of this object here. Alright, I'll add some details down here. This has got quite a ways to go, to be honest. So I certainly cannot just jump into the software and expect the tree to get made by simply pushing a button, the tree button. There is no tree button for what I'm doing here. Every little line has to be made. So the next time you look at a character in a movie, just remember somebody had to crawl all over every inch of the character or the environment for the CGI. Had to stare at a computer screen for days, microwaving their brain. Currently, I've got several jobs in the works. They're pretty big. An average job for me will take about 2 weeks. A contract for a TV commercial or a music video. I used to get jobs that would be done in a day. I would come into a studio, they would have me do one little task, and then I would be gone. And more folks, art directors, creative directors, producers even, are asking me to start from concept, develop the concept, whether it be a character or a look, a effect, a series of shapes bouncing around on the screen, a inflatable inner tube life raft flipping around with a logo on it, even stuff that you wouldn't think that I would be asked to create, starting from concept and take it all the way to finished. And what finished means is a movie file that they can open up and use for whatever it is that they want to use it for. It might be a rock concert, might be a film, a website, a video game on a website, a video game in general. Could be a corporate to corporate situation where they're showing off their new cloud computing services for corporations to house all their files that they have for their business in the cloud. In the cloud, which translates into a satellite receiving your information and then being a facility that sends out data that it's actually housed on a server computer on Earth. So when they say cloud computing, your files are not actually in the satellite. Now maybe there are companies that actually do have the files in a on a satellite. I'm getting a Skype from somebody, and I'm not going to answer them right now. I'm actually going to quit Skype just briefly. Jason, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I'm recording right now just in the middle of a conversation and cannot break away from it. That was Jason, one of my programmers that I work with on the video games that I create independently. And in case you're wondering, no, you cannot get the video games yet that I am creating independently. At least maybe you're watching this video way later, and they are available. Buy them now. Look at them up on Android, whatever they're called. One of them is called Skull King's Treasure. Another one is called Troll King Smash. And that's actually, Troll King Smash is what this tree, that's starting to look good. That's what this tree is going to be used for. The troll comes up to the tree and smashes it. And I totally forgot what I was talking about before that Skype call, so I apologize. But variety of jobs, creative directors, they're asking me more so to work on entire things instead of just parts of things. You know, when I say parts of things, sometimes they'll already have characters made, and they just want me to animate them, put the bones inside the characters, because these models that I make on the computer, or anybody makes on the computer, they don't come with bones. They don't just automatically have bones in them just because you model them. You have to do everything by hand. So if you imagine you were making a puppet in real life, a marionette, you'd have to have strings. You'd have to have the little wooden cross that you move that has strings dangling from it that's connected to the puppet's arms and legs. And the puppet's arms and legs having the ability to bend have to be given the ability to bend. On the computer, when you're working with fabric, it's a little bit easier to understand because fabric naturally bends, but polygons do not naturally bend when you want to play with them in an organized manner like a character. You have to put all that functionality of movement and gravity and the whole enchilada, you have to put it all in there. So stuff like trees and props are a little bit more focused of a task and not so crazy. Which is why I'm recording myself doing a tree, because what could be more peaceful than just a tree? Maybe a grassy field with a little tree right in the middle of it. That's pretty peaceful. But you got to make the tree, regardless whether you have a grassy. Oop, that's bad. Let's see, what was I thinking over here? Let's see if we can add a little interesting detail right there. The armpit of the tree. See, look at that. That's kind of interesting. Should probably put more of those on there, you know, more knot holes. That's fun. Well, yeah. So, yeah, Jason is one of my programmers. Troll King Smash and Skull King's Treasure. I got some other Android game ideas. We're looking into iPhone, the iOS format, all those handheld devices. I spent a lot of my youth, and when I say youth, I mean before high school, before junior high. I spent a lot of time in the 90s, in my youth, learning software, getting accustomed to all the pitfalls that comes with the territory, like software becomes obsolete, and you have to update, and you have to learn new tools, and you have to get over the fact that you can't always do things as you used to. You know, some things don't change. Crochet, real arts and crafts type stuff, traditional, and some things are just, you know, best the way they are. But then again, I'm not a crochet person, so I don't know what incredible innovations have happened. I'm sure there's some technology that is developed that one can take advantage of, doing patchwork, yarn work, fabric, you know, various craft things, putting buttons on. Do they have a gun you can just shoot a button onto stuff, just, and it somehow gets the button fastened on the inside? And no, probably not. That would probably take two guns going like that. I know. I you know, for all you crafts people out there, I do look at your aisle in Walmart and various stores, Michael's. I do go there and I look at it. Not with envy, you know, because I know it's hard work. It's harder than what I'm doing, in my opinion. Because that's the big trade-off with computers. They're intimidating on the surface. Once you learn them, you realize that even the most simple person, and I consider myself a simple person, in many respects when it comes to learning things. I need it simple. Even the most simple person, dense even, can learn how to use the tools on a computer and excel in what they do. And like I said, it's a lot of it really revolves around not giving up and just keep on moving forward. Don't get caught up on temporary failures, and just if you're learning the computer and you're learning how to use software, just take a moment, step back, and just understand that you'll be able to figure it out. There's a solution there. It just hasn't been. It just hasn't arrived to the surface. It hasn't come out. And you and your brain are kind of like the white blood cell that the problem of getting the computer to do what you want it to do, the software to get it to do what you want it to do, is kind of like the problem itself is a lot like an infection. And getting frustrated and impatient is a disease. You don't want to get stuck in that frustrated thing, because what happens is you're going to feel like just giving up. And there's cures for that. And all it is just, getting up the courage to try it again. There's that phrase, stand up like a man. And this goes for both men and women. Deep inside yourself, there is a inner man that can grow, and you have to sort of encourage him to stand up and just do it, because you want to do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. I mean, that's just a matter of wanting to do it. I mean, that's a different problem altogether. That's sort of like the needy side of a human's thought process. Do you even want to do it in the first place? And that's the thing that keeps, I think, a lot of people out of the business of working with software and art. And you gotta want to do it. In order to do it, you gotta want to do it. I mean, whatever you do in life, some things you got to do what you got to do. You may not want to do it. There's a lot of times where I don't want to necessarily sit here for an hour and make a tree. That's a lot of work. Sitting here staring at the screen, outside. Ooh, it's bright and sunny. I'd like to go for a bike ride or something, or go adventuring, because just by knowing me as much as you do, you could probably tell I have all kinds of adventures. My life is an adventure. All kinds of characters, all kinds of places. I go where I want to go. And sometimes I gotta do what I don't want to have to do. But you know what? I got alternative motives that help fuel my fire. I am not art. I am not just a pen tablet. I am not just these surfacey things. And getting into animation, I never would have thought I'd be making a tree. I originally got involved with animation because I had stories and characters, and I thought animation was a great way to be able to bring those stories to life. Some people use quill and ink, the old pencil and paper, to tell their stories. Well, I liked drawing, and so animation was a good fit for me. Over the years, though, I've learned that you can make money and make a living off of the skills involved with working with software. But my original intent was to have animation as a tool and be a master over animation and command it so that I could tell the stories that I wanted to tell. It was a very egocentric motivation for getting involved with animation. Maybe some people out there get involved with songwriting for egocentric reasons, so that you can sing the songs that you want to sing. It's all egocentric, is it not? But some things aren't egocentric. Some things are genuinely to help others. Teaching tools. I admire teachers. I admire people that set their minds on helping others and guiding them, which helps them learn the very tools that I'm using right now. I admire a lot of people. You know? I admire the guy that gets into that sludge that we call the public sewer system and has to go in a suit and sift through sewage. You know, I admire him. Not that I want to be him, but I admire that they just have to, you know, stand up, like I said earlier, stand up like a man and do it. You know, the reasons for what they do, maybe they just need to pay the bills, I don't know, but whatever it is that you do, you know, whether it be a teacher, a preacher, a scholar, somebody eager to learn, at some degree, at some level, I can admire what you do and appreciate it. Quite differently than how I would admire a squirrel gathering nuts for the winter. But all things can be admired, I think, at some level. Even the terrible things that happen in the world. Tornadoes. At some level, you can admire the destructive power of a tornado. You don't have to love it. No, you don't have to love it at all. But respect the power. And knowledge, wisdom, all knowledge and wisdom, much like fire, should be respected at some level. Of course, conditions can change. A child's wisdom, or lack of, their foolishness, which I guess some could call wisdom, to just run out into the street, into traffic. You don't have to respect that. Respect the wisdom that you know better to help children and correct them when they do wrong, guide them in the right path. That's the wisdom to respect. So definitely requires some judgment, you know, of whether the wisdom you have is superior, wiser, better, stronger. Is it good enough to share with the world? And at some small level, I suppose I did that when I made this video. I sat back and I thought, well, I don't know what I'm going to make in this video. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I'm just making a tree today. And I made a decision to share a little glimpse into my life. And if anything, I'm probably more productive in a way doing this in front of, nobody's really here. I'm talking to myself. Simulating like I'm talking to you. Kind of like the guy that paints those pictures and he's got the afro. What's that guy? What a peaceful little cloud. What a pretty little tree. And I forgot his, Russ. I think his name's Russ. Russ the painter. And he's just pretending to talk to you. He's not really talking to you. I don't know if you realize that. I'm sure you do. I'm of course kidding, because when you are talking to yourself, you have to have a sense of humor. If you don't have a sense of humor when you're talking with yourself, then I suppose maybe you're missing the joke. Yeah, and so here we have a situation where if I can kind of give you an insight to that's an interesting shape. If I can give you an insight to what's going on in my brain as I'm working here, I'm basically tuning out the work I'm doing, and I'm on autopilot. Like my hands, having gone through years of art training and drawing on the side, and I'm pretty much on automatic pilot, and I'm mostly just talking to the camera here. you and that's okay, because like I said earlier, you just have to have the faith that, hey, as long as you put detail there, it's going to be okay. It may not look photorealistic in the end, but I'm going to undo that move. I don't like that move. That's a very weird branch. It may not look photorealistic, but it'll look good. And good is a subjective thing. Hey, to me, photorealistic, it doesn't always look good. I can give you a good example of that. Sometimes people refer to one side of their face as the good side, or that's a good side, and they'll say, don't photograph me on my bad side. So, there is a subjective view on even photorealistic or realist. Total, reality is even subjective as far as what looks good. What's not looking good to me is this branch getting in my way. There we go. And I'm just adding lines. I'm talking and I'm thinking, boy, this tree, how old is this tree? And how wrinkly would this tree be if it was, 20 years old, or I don't know how trees. I just know I want a certain amount of wrinkliness, bark crevices, creases. That's all I'm thinking about. Is what I think is going to look good, as far as like how these veins or indentions that are going to create the chunks of I don't even know what you call those scabby sections of bark. You walk up to an old oak tree and you can break off a whole hunk of bark. It's not all one shape. The tree is not shaped like a stalk of celery, or it's not shaped like a steel beam where there's distinctive single lines going up the side of it. There's a wide variety of little islanded sections. Like here's a little eyeball thing. You can pull it out, push it in. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, I see some naked patches over here. And definitely some. And hopefully you would agree that this is starting to take shape, because I don't know how much longer I can actually record before my recording will give out. And I'm hoping I'm going to get to finish the overall wrinkliness of the bark and call that a video. I might post on my Facebook page the finished version of this tree, and I'll say right now, yeah, I will post it on my Facebook. And that's Frank Stringini Facebook. And yeah, in the story of this tree, basically a troll is going to walk up to it and he's going to start shaking the tree. So the whole tree is going to shake, and yes, it's going to have leaves. It's going to look like a healthy tree. It's not going to look like a dying tree you might see in a cemetery. If you were trying to be like the Nightmare Before Christmas kind of tree, it's not going to be something like that. That looks a little weird. Looks like braided hair. I'll leave it. Doesn't matter. There's going to be leaves. That's another thing. The leaves are going to cover up a lot of the barren areas, I guess, if I leave anything barren. I don't know. I plan on pretty much putting creases and details all over this tree. I should probably say this. I was inspired mostly to do this video now. I was thinking about doing this video for a while, where I would just include a little bit of my life in a video and share it with others, people that may be interested in it. I was thinking about it for a while, but then a friend of mine, Kristen Ferris, she had inspired me to create a video. By the way, hi Kristen. And she had inspired me to do a video where I talk, and that was about it. And she's always interested in the work I do, so I thought, well, I know how to screen capture my computer. I'm working on this tree right now. I will be switching gears and working on, after I'm done on this tree, I'm going to be shifting to another job, and then after I'm done working on that job, I'll be shifting to a different job. And I've got like a bunch of jobs open right now, so I do a little bit of work as I go on each job. And sometimes you can do that. Sometimes you have to be 100% dedicated to one job, and which is most of the time, I have to turn away jobs, because most of the time the job is a very demanding of my time job, and I will get up in the morning and I won't go to bed till 2 a.m. and then I'll get up in the morning again, and then rinse and repeat. You can see it's like I look a little bit haggard today because I was up late and got little bags under my eyes. I look pretty sad today. This is not the healthiest that you're gonna see me at. This is pretty much me just kind of getting up and working on this tree. I'm like, so I'm not 100% my usual spastic self that I would usually be. Usually I'm throwing this up in the air and then scribbling on there and grabbing this mouse and going over on this computer and, full speed ahead, pulling the whistle like a locomotive to accomplish this, the task at hand. But it's Sunday. It's a day when my clients are, for the most part, on downtime. So I take advantage of 7 days a week working, and there is no off day. That's my life. I work. Like I said, I am not art. I am not this tree. I am not the thing. That's not what motivates me. I'm not just simply working 7 days a week because I love art so much. So I know you can get that impression when somebody makes that statement. Oh, I work 7 days a week, but that's not true. That's not what I'm about. I work. I have a living. And what I do with the money I make and the living that I have, that's what I'm really all about. What I invest my treasure of my life in, that's who I am. And so to truly know me and who I am, you would have to get past the artist, past the long, fabulous hair, which desperately needs to be washed. Holy moly, look at that. It's like the bristles on a broom. It's horrible. You want to see something crazy? Look at this. Now that's crazy. It's like an Edward Scissorhands hairdo. Yeah, look at that. You have to get past all the facade stuff. You have to get past the face, get past the beach chair. You have to get past the surfacey stuff and learn what it is what I'm all about, what I believe in, what I invest my treasure, because everybody has a treasure, some sort. Some people pour their treasure into small things, and when I say small things, it's a small thing to me. Well, I don't know if it's really a small thing. In one respect, a big screen TV can be considered a small thing. A big 72-inch widescreen HD, the bells and whistles. In one way, I can look at that and say that's a small thing. But when you don't have money for those things, it can also seem like a very big thing. Or when you've emptied out your bank account into all the toys you would ever want to buy, that could seem like a very big thing. So I guess what I'm saying is, where your money goes, by and large, that's the biggest thing of your life. And I don't know if that's always true. Maybe people are wishing that they had something bigger in their life. They're missing something. And they're investing all their money into stuff that, in their view, they really would rather not. They would rather be investing in something else. And what that is and what makes it important is a subjective thing, meaning whether or not they think they're enjoying themselves and they really like what they're investing in, pouring out all their treasure into. It's a subjective thing. But to me, because I don't buy a lot of toys, not anymore. I'm 35 years old, folks. 35 years old. Playing with toys is a luxury I don't have. So well, my one recording gave out, so I guess that's the end of this this video. I hope you enjoyed. Please, you know, come back again. I will maybe see you guys again sometime. Maybe I'll make another video like this. I don't know. But I gotta finish up this tree. Yeah, my mic gave out, and now we're hearing audio from my bad mic. So I will see you again soon. So long.